All right, now see, this is when we come in with the Halloween music. You know, it's gonna like, woo.
I was thinking
Maybe
about
you're gonna
that.
add
Like,
this in then.
do 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 do.
No, you can't do that. That's already taken. You can't do that. Get
Gotta come
copyright
up
for
with
that.
our own scary
Yeah.
music. All right,
Be great
Mike,
though.
I'm gonna give you some background, like ooh goes, and then you just like do, I don't know, like rattle some chains or something. Ooh.
Oh shit! I took out the ball thing out.
Okay, now we'll just keep this going for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, and just whisper stuff. We can't code, so we criticize. And that's the name of the podcast. I'm Michael.
Yeah, my name is Ben. Mike, you can go
And
for
you-
it. Go for it.
No, yeah. So welcome to the podcast, the
Episode
Halloween
35.
special, episode 35. It's our favorite time of the year, Halloween. We love to do this. Last one we just had a blast, and so we're just so excited.
We figured we'd have another Halloween. Why not?
Yeah, fuck it. You're welcome for giving you Halloween, people.
Yeah, Halloween is our gift to you, everyone.
Yeah, so be appreciative, give us a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you owe us.
Yeah, and so, Ben, though, have you been doing anything Halloween-like this week, or what have you been doing, actually, even in fact?
So the week coming up from Halloween, right, last week, watching movies, as always, playing some games. I'm going to start out with the one thing that wasn't horror-themed, and then we're going to move into the things that were. So I watched the series called When They See Us, and it's on Netflix right now. Have you heard of this series?
No. How is that? Like, what's it about?
It's great. It's based on a true story. It's about these 5 people in New York City who, because of basically racial profiling, they were convicted and sentenced to prison for 6 to 14 years. Five young men. They're like
Damn.
age 14, 15, 16, like very, very young, and they were put on trial for like raping this late 20s woman. Like half the kids didn't even know what sex was, or I mean, I'm sure that they had like a general idea, but basically,
Right. Wasn't even their interest. They weren't even going to even think about doing it at all.
yeah, and it's
Because, like,
based on-
girls, cooties.
Yeah, I mean it is a really good series. It won a lot of awards. I can't remember if it's the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever is the
Yeah.
television one, but
They're all the
won,
same.
one. If you've seen one awards ceremony, you've seen them all. But
Basically.
it was awesome. So it's a 4-part series, and each episode was about an hour long, and it's on Netflix. But it was a real tearjerker. It was insane. That's all I want to say about that. Go check it out. It's sweet.
Okay, not bad. And
Yeah.
then the rest of the stuff that's all Halloween?
It is. So
Nice.
since I started with movies, I will continue with movies. And then, Mike, if once I finish up with my movies, how about you say your movies, and then we'll go on
Oh,
to
yeah,
games
because
after that.
I got a bunch of them.
Good. Okay. So my the next movie that I saw is based off of our last top 5, which was classic horror films, and the one that was one of the more recent horror films that I put on my list, but still being a classic, being pre-2000s, is The Faculty. So,
Nice.
Mike, this was my number 5 on my list, so it just barely made the list, but I thought that it fit a very good amount of funny. I mean, the movie, if you look at the movie, you're not going to say it's a comedy, you're not going to say it's an action or anything like that. For it to be on that list, it had to be on first instinct a horror. So don't be
Yeah.
expecting to be like, laughing out loud during the movie, but it takes itself a little less seriously than other movies. And but it's still,
your
in and out
typical-
of horror.
It's also, like, it embodies the typical 90s movies, too, honestly. If you want to think of, like, 90s films, you can, like, The Faculty is, like, a great example of, like, just films during the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good. I know that I talked everyone's ear off about this last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But over the weekend, I was pouring myself some Jack and Coke. I loaded that up late one night, and I just was, really into it. I haven't seen
So
it
it
in
still
like 5
holds up.
years. Oh, it's great, yeah. It's awesome.
Nice.
So that's
Nice.
The Faculty. I'm kind of cruising through these. I feel like I should go a bit slower.
No, it's all good, man. Trust me, we're gonna be talking for a while. I feel like.
Sure. Well, the first thing that I mentioned was When They See Us, which was a Netflix series, which isn't Halloween. The next thing that I mentioned, what just a second ago, was The Faculty, which I've already talked about. So let's move on to something brand spanking new here. Mike, I saw a movie called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. It was really interesting.
Such a good movie.
You saw that one?
Movie. Yeah, I saw that with my girlfriend. It's so good.
Yeah, I have never heard of it. And then Nurse Tyler, I was at his house last weekend, and he was like, let's go see this. And no. You know what happened? Nurse Tyler and I got a Oculus. Is it a Quest? I think it's a Quest. So he wore his headset, his VR headset, and I wore mine, and we did like movie theater style. So we were sitting in a big movie theater in VR watching that movie. So that's what we did.
That's so cool.
It's so much fun. Honestly, I mean, those VR systems are getting pretty cheap. But so yeah, Nurse Tyler and I were just like virtually hanging out watching this movie on the big screen, and it feels like a fucking IMAX theater. It's awesome. And we had a blast.
So cool.
I was like, you can technically look away in the movie, but there were some parts that I'm definitely more skittish than you are, Mike. And I was like, God, like I've mentioned this 100 times, but I hate ER. Like I can't watch ER when, and that was on in like the 90s or early 2000s. I couldn't watch that. I hate gore, and I hate that. And that is basically the entirety of this movie. And so I was just like, shivers running up and down my spine, cringing in my seat as they were like dissecting this woman. Oh my gosh, but really good. I mean, I
really enjoyed the story. The story was a fantastic horror movie story.
I don't want to say that it's, best of all time, because I know I'm sounding really enthusiastic about it right now, but the best thing about it was that I have heard nothing about this movie until 5 minutes before we started watching it. And then I was like, oh, how did this fly under the radar?
Yeah, we were just like, I was just scoping on, I forgot what it was on, but I was just going through it, and all of a sudden just landed on it. I was like, well, let's give this one a go. This seems like it has well-known actors, the quality looks really good, and man, it was a nice little surprise.
It was. I think that it had, if it was going to have any kind of horror theme to it, I would say suspense is probably the biggest part of that movie. It had a lot of suspense. But that was
it has great payoffs, though, which is nice. That's what I like about it, because like sometimes you get suspenseful movies, they don't have a good payoff. I feel like this one had the perfect amount of payoff with all the suspense that's in the movie.
I feel like the ending could have been a little bit stronger.
Without ruining anything.
Without ruining anything, they could have gone a bit more grotesque. They were still keeping it very, for an entire movie about dissecting someone's body. I thought that they kept it pretty PG-13. And I'm not saying that, like I already mentioned, this was a hard movie for me to watch. But at the end of it, I was thinking like, oh, I was really hoping that they would like just make me like not able to look at the screen or anything, because I was able to get through it, and it was still really good. I know I'm giving kind of a mixed opinion here, but I feel like they could have just driven that home a little bit harder at the end.
It's not perfect, but it's still a good film.
Yeah, and the a lot of the shots were very beautiful too. It's a lot of still camera, like it shows her face and it shows her on the table, and so like the camera doesn't do a lot of jumping around or anything, and you get these really nice stylistic shots of like she's like pale, dead, cold figure, and they do a really good job with just, I mean, I don't know, I can't,
very eerie.
The shots,
the
shots
eerie
really
throughout the whole entire movie.
Very eerie, indeed. That's a good way to put it. If I was going to rate it out of 10, Mike, I would probably say at least an 8. I'm debating between 8 and 8.5. I would probably just say 8.
I was going the opposite way. I was thinking 8 or 7.5. I feel like it's between those two range. But yeah, I would say an 8 for myself. But if if I was being a harsh critic, I'd give it like a 7.5.
The other really interesting thing about this movie is, if you're familiar with the film term bottle. So when you have a bottle episode, it means that basically nothing leaves the room, including the camera. All it is just one shot in a room. And this movie, it almost is a bottle. So the entire movie takes place in about 4 different areas, but all within the same building. One is the operation table where they're doing the autopsy.
Yeah, it's in a morgue.
Yeah.
That's where it happens in. So the whole area is in a morgue, and it's about a morgue family, and it's pretty darn cool.
In the sense that the building is bottled, yes, then it's a bottle movie, but I've got to give people props for when they restrict themselves so much, and in that sense, I really liked that they had so much restriction. If I remember correctly, they almost never leave the basement. Maybe the first 5 minutes establish that they're in a basement of a morgue, but other than that, the whole movie is based off of just in this basement. Maybe like 3 rooms. The surgical room, or where they actually do the dissection, the hallway, and then like the office, and that's it. And
I don't remember really ever being a dull moment. I think it was a really well paced movie too.
yeah,
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I know I saw it last year or maybe this year, and I just remember it was very well paced out, and even though like it happens in one building, you don't feel like it's annoying. Like like Phone Booth. There's that movie called Phone Booth where it all happens like in a single phone booth,
Right.
which is not a bad movie, but like I can't really watch that movie again because it's just a guy staying in a phone booth. And this one, even though like you said, it's in a bottle, it's just big enough where it's just like they do wonderful work with it, and it's something I'm glad you reminded me of that movie because I need to rewatch that movie again too for Halloween's sakes. Yeah, that was a fantastic movie.
yeah. Once again, I don't want to be sitting here praising it to the wind of saying like, oh, it's the best, it's awesome, but in terms of
Right.
something that I had never heard of before, it blew me away. If something
Yeah.
is typically a 10 out of 10 for me, I've probably heard of it in some way or another. So in terms of a sleeper hit, I would say this fits that profile
This was
pretty
a
well.
this was a nice gem to find in the pile of shit of horror movies. But once again, it's compared to a lot of bad movies. So though it's not a groundbreaking Oscar-winning movie, it's still a good movie to watch, and it's a movie that I think everyone can enjoy either with people or by yourself.
It is an incredibly fresh idea as well.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it. The whole plot and everything in it was great.
Yeah.
It was something that you never seen before, and then that alone, I think it should get people to watch it. And I also think too that it's not it's not like artsy film. It's a very well made horror movie. Even though it's unique, it's not like artsy hipster unique. It's actually a really well established movie that I think is really good for a wide amount of audience too.
Yeah, I agree. No, they do a good job. And what else about it? I don't know. I would just say that there's a lot of movies that come out that a year goes by and you're like, oh, what was that movie with the zombie and the whatever.
Yeah.
This movie, I'm going to be able. The second that someone says Autopsy of Jane Doe, I'm going to immediately remember it because it is that unique.
That's what just happened to me too. So I totally forgot about that movie, about seeing it, and Sue says like, "Shit, that's a good movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Event Horizon. You can never forget what Event Horizon is because it is such a unique movie.
Yeah.
In comparison, there's so many Nightmare on Elm Streets, there's so many Chuckies, there's so many slashers in general that, like, in a market that can be just terribly saturated. I mean, this sticks out like fucking Cabin in the Woods, basically, in terms of notable horror films. All right, so that's my spiel on Autopsy of Jane Doe. Check it out. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Mike, what movies have you seen in the last week?
Okay, so I saw quite a bit.
Go for it.
I also did start movies that we didn't finish, and one of them was The Midnight Meat Train. We started this film, and this film is about a photographer who is, I think it was in Chicago I think it was New York. It was New York, and he's trying to find, his photos of the city that showed like the dark side of the city and all that stuff. And then the main plot is about how there's a guy that's murdering people on the train at midnight when no one else is around. And it's a pretty slow-paced movie. I was actually kind of enjoying it, but my girlfriend and and her mom just they couldn't get into it. They said it was too slow-paced, and they love horror movies, so we decided to stop watching it. I thought we already saw a couple of murder scenes in it, and some of them were pretty good. There were some though where were just the CGI was really noticeable, and it was just I don't want to give away anything, but there's just a really just funny scene, death scene where a guy gets killed by the protagonist, and it just like it just looks kind of silly.
Now,
It was
is this like an A movie, a B movie? Like, is it something that would have been in theaters? Do you know, or is it like a
I
Netflix or a
don't
straight to DVD or something?
I think it's kind of a straight up. It was a straight up Hulu. It's like I think it was a straight to Hulu kind of thing. It's kind of straight to streaming film.
Okay.
I would say the quality is good. It did lack in some things. There's well established actors in it, and I think it's. I would give it like what I saw. I really wanted to finish it because it was getting good. I'd give it like so far of yeah, go see it. I mean, it's on Hulu. If you got Hulu, go watch it. It's kind of free. But sadly, we couldn't finish it because they decided that they weren't into it. So, and we watched a shit ton of movies, so it's like decided to go to something else. Another movie that we watched was Mom and Dad, and this is a Nicolas Cage movie actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this one is the plot of where there's a virus that gets into parents and it makes them want to kill their own children and only their own children. And as soon as they kill their own children, they're just back to normal. They're not remorse about it at all, though. It's like, whatever. You know, they just go on their normal lives after killing their own kids.
That sounds like a great horror comedy.
It is. It was actually enjoyable to watch. It wasn't the greatest though. They have these moments of flashbacks with the parents, with the kids, to show like, oh look how like how much they actually cared about them, but it had no reflection of the movie at all. And it also shows like it also has like a little undertone of like the parents going through a middle age crisis, which served the movie nothing at all. It really had no purpose at all, but just making the movie just slow down the movie completely to a halt. When you see these like flashbacks, there was just no point to them, and a lot of times we're just like, all right, it's a flashback. Let's go get snacks. Let's drink. Let's just talk.
Mike,
and then
you're gonna
the
tell
flashback
me
is over, and then they start killing. Try to kill each other and all that stuff.
you're gonna tell me that there's a movie starring Nicolas Cage where he murders children and it's not a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I am going to tell you that. I would give it like a 5 or 4.5.
Man, dang.
Yeah, just because the flashbacks really ruin the movie. There's no point to them, and it just brings the movie to a crawl. And it's one of the things they just have it in there just to add film time because they had an idea and it had to be longer, so it wasn't just like some 45 minutes long. Because if they took out all that stuff, it'd probably be a 45-minute film, honestly, and that's it. Maybe even I'd say 40 to 45 minutes long only. If they took all the flashbacks out, and
Okay.
that's why it takes a huge hit with that. Besides that, everything else is really cool to watch. It's cool to see like all these parents kill their kids. It kind of has it kind of does it in the what was it Hunger Games kind of way. We don't really see it, but the sound effects is there, and so it's still effective. And
Well,
stuff.
yeah, I didn't figure that they were actually gonna show murdered children or
You
anything.
see some like suffocation, and then but that's like the worst you really see. Like you see maybe like if someone's being stabbed, you only see the knife. You don't see the kid actually being stabbed. You just see the blood and the bloody weapon, and that's really it. So it's that kind of violence. It's still pretty good though. I like how they handled it because obviously, like you said, killing kids, it's like brutally murdering kids is kind of pushing it a bit. But yeah, just because of the flashbacks, though, really just the ending was good. It was very straight up and simple ending, which I liked because it's kind of a hard way to end a film about parents trying to kill their kids because of some type of weird chemical attack. You kind of know how they do it to make the parents kill their kids, but it never really actually says like who did it yet or anything like that. So, which is interesting which I did like that they did that. They explain like this is why they're doing it. Like this is like not like who's doing it or why, but you're kind of learning how they're getting into their minds to adjust it to instead of protect their kids to kill them. So I thought that was good, and so that's why I'll give it like a straight 5. Definitely worth the see, but don't you can fast forward through the flashbacks because they literally hold no purpose at all, but just to add more time to the film.
Okay.
Yeah. Another movie we saw was I had never seen before, but my girlfriend's mom showed it to us was What Lies Beneath, and I actually really enjoyed that film. I thought it's an old film too, but not too old. I forgot when, I don't know what the exact dates, but it's with Harrison Ford.
It's like
he's in it.
It's around the 2000s.
Yeah, okay.
I saw it back in the day.
I never seen it before. I actually really
exactly 2000.
Because I can't say much without giving, because it's when you say certain things you kind of give away about the film, but the storyline I thought was very well plotted out and how they how they feed you the plot in the movie. I thought that was handled very well. I enjoyed the scares in the movie too. I thought were very well done too, and I was also pretty satisfied with the ending as well.
See, you and I are going to differ on that one part. Is you said that the scares were well done. The only thing I remember about that movie is that it's almost all jump scares. I haven't seen it in 19 years, so maybe I'm dead wrong, but I remember there would always be like a
like kind of violin sound, and it would jump to like someone jumping on someone. It's like, oh, come on, you know.
I didn't really think there was a lot, but once again, yeah, you and me have a different. I can see watching the movie how people would think that some things are jump scares, but for me, I think they're more like poltergeist kind of things, not like it's more of like haunting or eeriness. I feel there's a lot of eeriness in it, and there are some pop scares in it. But I don't think there is as many as you remember there is. But once again, you and me have a different tolerance to horror films. So I think I totally don't agree with that. But I can see, because I know you get scared of films a lot easier and stuff. You can get into what's the word I'm looking around? You can believe them a lot more than I can.
Sure.
But
okay.
I thought that.
Sorry, not to cut you off. I just found a website. Yeah. I was looking to see if this was a common theme or not about the jump scares and what lies beneath. Mike, there is a website called Where's the Jump that is dedicated to counting the jump scares in movies.
What?
Yes. This one has 16 jump scares in it.
Good. But that's a good amount.
I'm going to totally use this website more. Wait.
Just to prepare yourself.
Okay, give me a quick movie really quickly, a horror film. What's a good one that we can do like jump scares for?
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Okay, nope, let me spell it right.
Let me spell it.
I can't
3 small words.
Okay, Cabin in the Woods. Let's see. Jump scares in Cabin in the Woods. Okay, it's like
loading.
Okay, 13 jump scares, 2 major, 11 minor.
Okay. Wow. It tells you if they're major and minor. And then you just look up, and you said that What Lies Beneath had 16?
Yeah, 16. Okay, one more, and then we can get back to it. Exorcist.
Okay, so that's only 3 more than Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah. Holy shit, there's an Exorcist 3? Okay, jump scares in The Exorcist. There's an Exorcist TV series?
Are you surprised? Dude, there's like 50,000 types of different Exorcist movies now. It's insane.
I had no idea. Okay.
Dude, it is nuts how many different types of movies there are.
10 jump scares in The Exorcist. There's only 10. All of them are minor jump scares, though. Interesting.
But yeah,
right.
so like...
I'm totally using that.
16 is not a lot. I feel like 16 is not a lot. Especially if Cabin Woods has 13, then yeah, I think that, for me, to say that it doesn't have a lot.
I mean, but, I was 9 when the movie came out, too, so
True.
That might be another factor. I enjoyed it.
I think it's a good movie for a lot of people to enjoy, and I think it's definitely what people should watch. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Definitely a watch. Okay. Nothing that... It's not like my favorite, but it was something like, like with Jane Doe. It's a nice thing to find. It's cool to find like an older film that you miss, and then you actually get to enjoy it.
Right.
Another movie that I got to watch was 13 Ghosts. I got to rewatch that.
Oh, I love that one.
It doesn't hold up for me. I was watching it. I was like, this is... Man, I don't know what I liked about it, to be honest.
This is the one where they're in the glass house, right?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one they're in the glass house.
Okay.
Apparently, actually, when I was trying to find the movie to rent it, there's like a black and white version of it. Apparently, it was like a remake or something. I thought that was... I didn't dive into it, though, because I was just trying to get the movie for us to watch and stuff. But giving it a watch again, it's obviously trying to be a horror film, but it just feels like a comedy. I just couldn't take anything serious in the movie at all. I couldn't get into it. I felt like, but my girlfriend and I thought I liked it a lot, so I was pretty excited because they liked the movie a lot too. They thought it was a great kind of just a simple horror movie, which it is. It's a classic horror movie, of our time to watch, but it's not good.
Let's see how many jump scares are in it.
Yeah, let's see. It just wasn't good for me. It wasn't scary. You just feel bad for the ghosts, and you can see why they're killing people.
There's 17.
See, one more than what lies. That's too many. If 16 is a perfect film, but 17, but no, you're a shit movie.
They're all minor though. They're all minor.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, there's just nothing scary about the film. Like, the creature designs are well made. I felt like the ghosts looked pretty cool, but also cheesy at the same time too. Kind of looked like you were in in a haunted house kind of cheesiness to me.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and defend the movie. The only thing that I saw it about last year or 2 years ago, and the only thing that I do remember about it is there was that, big baby guy, and I remember that was, scary when I was younger, but no, I do remember that the whole idea with the glasses is kind of dumb and a bunch of other shit.
Do you know what it is? It's kind of like Evil Dead. Evil Dead's not... Well, it's like Evil Dead 2. Sorry. Evil Dead 2, it's comedy, it's funny, and it's, with a little bit of sprinkle of horror in it. But the majority of it is kind of comedy. Yeah. And, so... Because I don't want to shit on it, because it does have a special place in my heart. But just... I guess a lot of it is just... what's that word, when you embellish something because it's in your past or something like that? Nostalgia. A lot of it's just nostalgia about the film when I was younger. But yeah, it's one of those things it's scary as a kid, but when you're an adult, it's laughable. It's something when you see very young, it can get you. It can stick with you because it's a full glass house. It's a cool premise, still like a whole just house made out of glass and stuff. And then there's just it also moves like a puzzle. It has a bit of like the have you ever seen the movie The Cube in it?
Yeah.
You ever seen the movie? Yeah, it's kind of like that vibe, everything's shifting, you never know what's going to happen. And man, I got to rewatch The Cube because The Cube really scared the crap out of me as a kid. I got to rewatch that movie to see how it is now.
I'm not going to say it's not horror, but if I had to say it's action or horror, I would probably say it's more action than anything else.
Really? Because I remember that just terrifying me as a kid. So I saw it on Hulu, so I'm going to definitely give that one a watch too again.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I watched the 13 Ghosts. I'll give that one. No, I'll
probably
give that
a 4 or something.
6.
Wow. Okay.
It's not scary. All right. So once again, I'm saying it's a shit horror movie, but it's still it's a fun movie in the sense. So I'll give it 6. Kind of praising a little bit too much. 5.5. It's worth see. It's not worth seeing, but if you see it, it's well, that's funny. That's you're not mad that you saw it.
Yeah.
Because anything that's 5 and above, it's a movie that you saw, but it's okay, I saw it. Anything below 5 is I don't know, you saw it, but it can kind of piss you off. I feel like you kind of feel like you regret your time, when you get below 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's how I've always seen it. Is 5 means that it accomplished what it was trying to do, and
yeah.
Or you're unsure if it accomplished, it's on the teetering point, and then anything above 5
straight
is,
up 5.
Yeah, I know that I started out saying that I liked that movie a lot when you first mentioned it, but no, you're right. I think that the only thing that I even remember about the movie is just the imagery of that big man child, and then other than that,
yeah,
there's
it's
I remember it's just kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's a haunted town film. You go to a haunted house, it's it's kind of scary, but then after you leave, it's well, it's kind of stupid. But you remember some small bits of it,
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, it's just kind of funny. Just because I remember they were both we're all really excited to watch 13 Ghosts, and I kind of remember in the back of my head watching recently. I remember this being shitty though after watching it, and I watched it with them with that mindset. I was yeah, this is really shitty, but it was enjoyed. The acting's not bad. It has good actors in it, good characters, and a cool preference of a story, and the set design is very well done and unique. So I give them credit for that. But then the last movie I saw was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The I don't know if it's a remake, but the old one, yeah. With the guy from Jurassic Park in it, the sexy guy. What's his
Jeff
name?
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum, yeah, the one he's in it. That one.
Wait a minute. Is that the old one?
Like I know it was. I don't know. I only say that because I think they remade it, but I'm not sure if they did. Let's see. Invasion of the. I did put down the date of it though, of this one. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Because I know they remade it, I think, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's a black and white movie, if I remember.
Okay,
correctly.
so yeah, they did remake it. So there is a black and white version, but they remade it with Jeff Goldblum into the colored version in 1978.
Yep, the original was 1956, so they're both pretty old. But this is the So 78 version has Jeff Goldblum in it, from what you're telling me. He must have been pretty young in that.
It has a lot of known actors in it too. Yeah, he was really bloody young in it. Let me see if I can find it.
Because Jurassic Park, I would say he's probably 40s, and that was maybe like late 30s or something. Fuck, I don't know. But cast. that was in the 90s. So this movie's in 78. So minus 20 years. I would figure he's in his early 20s.
Had Leonard Nimoy. Spock in it.
Yeah.
Brooke Adams, Donald Sutherland. Yeah, like Donald Sutherland was in it too as well. He was fantastic in it. Let's see, another person I know as well. Yeah, there's a bunch of actors I sadly I just don't. I'm shit with names, especially with actors, because I don't really care about actors. I mean, I like their acting, but their personal lives and their actual names, I don't care. Yeah. But the Invasion Body Snatchers, the 1978 version, it still holds up today. It was a really fantastic movie to watch. A really enjoyable preference. It's on the slow side, but it's really cool trying to see these people trying to survive this alien invasion as the alien invasion is clearly taking over the world without everyone realizing it. And it's I don't want to give anything away because it's still a good movie to watch today. Definitely great to watch with other people. I would say that it is definitely not pop-up. It's not really a lot of pop-up horror, just eerie and what's the word? I guess a survival horror movie. That's a great way to look at it. It's a great survival horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just trying to live in the wilderness, is about surviving against an alien invasion.
Yeah.
Overall, the effects is. I think they still held up to today's standards. They don't really use CGI at all. There's no CGI in the movie at all. It's all practical effects, which is nice to see, honestly. And it's well done, too. And I think there's maybe a little bit of technically CGI with some sped up parts, but it really just nails it, though. They do a fantastic job with it.
I mean, 1978, you're around Star Wars time, so CGI would have been extremely limited.
Yeah. I know that, what was it? Oh, shit, my phone went dark for a second. I had my list on there. What Lies Beneath had some CGI in it, and some of it was really good. It's like how they use CGI to do certain editing of scenes and stuff, and then there was some CGI that were just really just dated and just funny. But still, in the premise of the movie, it looked real in the world in a sense, which is kind of funny, even though it was really cheesy CGI. But yeah, in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, though, fantastic film actually still today, and it's still a good horror movie as well. And if you haven't seen it, at least the 1978 version, I didn't even realize I had a feeling it was a remake, but I never seen it or heard anything about it.
Yeah,
but definitely the 1978 version is. Definitely a watch, especially with it has David Goldblum. I mean, the guy's fucking sexiest man alive. Can't miss that shit.
I'm going to. I know that we moved on from What Lies Beneath, but I'm actually gonna go ahead and rewatch that movie this week because I feel like I'm giving you a really bad argument from someone who hasn't seen the movie in 19 years, and then we can talk about it in a week or two.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine too, and even if it's still good art, it's still nice to be challenged, honestly, just to even talk about it because I don't want to just oversell a movie, like with Jane Doe. I love Jane Doe, but once again, it's not an Oscar winner. It's just a really good movie, pile of shit's a movie that's out there. But I'm also not saying it's a bad movie. It's a good movie. I just don't want to oversell it. But What Lies Beneath is a good movie. Like I said, I think I gave it... Didn't I rate that? I would give it like a 7 or 6.5 out of 10. And then with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I would give that one definitely a 8 out of 10. I think, yeah, 8 out of 10. Yeah, with the acting. Acting's fantastic. All the characters do great. I don't ever remember really making fun of any of the acting at all in that film. I thought everyone was really good at it.
It'd be interesting to do like a pre-80s best horror films or something, because there's so many good ones out there that I feel like the ones that I picked on last week's list were all just the ones that I grew up with. You know, they were like within the first 10 years, you know, in the 90s, basically. A lot of them were, if they weren't...
I did see Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I remember did liking it, but I haven't seen it in such a long time, so that's why I didn't make it my list. But if I could remake it, would I put it on there? I don't know, but it'll definitely be an honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, like, there's a ton of stuff, you know, Rosemary's Baby. Like, there's a bunch of ones that were just really good that were a little bit before our time. And
yeah, The Exorcist, too. Man, when did that one come out?
That was late 70s, I think.
Yeah, movies back then were really good in it with horror.
Could look at it really quickly.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, too. The Exorcist, in 1973.
Oh, wow. Early 70s, wow.
Wow, I was even older than the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Man, back then they were making good fucking movies. Holy crap.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think a good horror film comes from the age you are, because if you're younger, it's typically going to have a bigger impact on you. And by the time that I saw The Exorcist, I mean, like, a bunch of movies coming out in the 90s, even though I wasn't 18, like, my family would rent it, and they would be like, oh, it's scary, cover your eyes during these parts, you know, whatever. But movies...
just, like, re-looking at the images, though, again, though, they're still well-done movies.
They are, but what I mean is that they, in terms of horror, they probably wouldn't scare you and I the same way that they would scare someone in the 70s, because we're so familiar with, like, oh, look at how fake that is now. Like, we're very critical of their old techniques.
Let's see, it's a $12 million budget. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, just... It'll be interesting, like, yeah, that is very true. I like to see, I can't wait to see, like, the next generation and seeing, like, what's, like, their, like, cult movies or ones that they just think are just the top notch.
Well, we just missed those movies in their prime, and other people are gonna miss, you know, Cabin in the Woods when it's in its prime, and, you know, all the movies that we thought were great, because as technology unfolds, you know, like, if VR becomes a big thing, people are gonna be like, it's a 2-dimensional movie. This is so dumb. Like, this isn't scary.
Oh man,
that's totally how it's gonna be. Like, I don't know.
That's gonna be the new type of a way to scare people. Yeah, I never thought about that.
It's like what is, like, considered a great film? Let's just say The Godfather. I actually never got into The Godfather. I felt like it was really slow.
Neither have I.
That's probably because I didn't see it at the prime that it came out. You know, when it was the pinnacle of storytelling, when I mean, the actors that are in it are huge names, and I think that it was a timely thing, and it's like, okay, well, we kind of missed that boat. Like some games right now, if there was an N64 game that I never played back in the day, if I tried to play it right now, I'm sure it would only be half as good as most people claim, because it'd be like, this is not immersive at all. I'm playing as a block with feet, you know?
And these controls suck.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, yeah.
But that's why we always supersede each of these episodes with saying that these are all biased opinions, you know? We're never trying to give an objective truth to anything here.
Well, I'm always right, that's for sure.
Yep, that is correct. I try to be as correct as possible, and Mike just puts me in my place. My favorite movie is Fight Club. Mike is like, no, it's not. I have spoken.
You idiot.
Repent, sinner. Purge your sins in blood and fire. No.
But, yeah, that was the last movie, though, I saw, though. this week, so I saw a shit ton of movies, and then I also played a shit ton of games too though as well. Thanks to the Xbox Pass, which is a hell of a good deal because I realized that we said it was like $15 for the PC. It's actually just $10 a month for the PC.
Yeah.
And they just got Outer Worlds 2, which we'll talk later, but I mean Outer Worlds is a $60 game, but it's already on Xbox Pass.
Yeah,
and then
like 10 hours in it for $1. No big deal. Whatever.
Yeah, $60 game for $1. And then think about that. Even without the buck, it'll take you 10 months to make the game equal for the Xbox Pass you have. 10 months. And then you have other games for free too on it as well.
11 months, because 1 month is $1, and then the other months are 10.
Yeah. True. That's right. With taxes and all that stuff. It's fucking crazy.
So, no, I'm glad that you jumped on that bandwagon, because I didn't want to be, like, overhyping it, but now I'm glad that you and I can both get excited about it. So, Mike, other than Outer Worlds, what else have you been playing?
So, I also played out the game I said I was going to play last week, which it was Ape Out.
Yep.
That was a well-made game. It is a
out of 10.
6.5 or a 7.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, definitely worth playing if you have the Xbox Pass. I don't know if it's really worth a full price.
It's hard
for full price though.
It's hard to say. Would you play this game for $1 and then have the answer be like there has to be some very small criteria that a game isn't worth even $1 of my time.
Here's the thing. So like since I have the Xbox Pass, I played the game. It's the one way I wrote down was that it's a one-trick pony game. The main thing is getting from point A to point B, and there's 4 separate levels. In each level, there's about 6 to 8 stages, and it's you working through a certain, like, the example is, like, the first level is you escape from a lab. The second level is you escape from a building. And, like, in the lab, you go from room to room to room, and then the building, you start, like, at top of a skyscraper, and you go from floor to like, all the way to the bottom floor. And then there's a military base where you have to get out of a military base, and there's another one where you have to get off of a boat. And so there is no story. It's just ape out, just escape. And you only get 3 abilities. You get to grab them, which you can use them as a shield. And if you hold on to them, though, and they have a weapon, they'll shoot 1 round from their weapon. Unless it's a machine gun, then they shoot like a full clip. So you can use them to shoot other people, or you can use them to throw them against other people to kill them, or you can use them to throw them against a wall or outside a building and stuff. And another ability you have is to push. And that's it the whole entire game. Which isn't bad, but, you only get to do 2 things. Your options are a limited playthrough style of either dodging, picking up people's shields, using their weapons, and that's really it.
Okay.
It's still good, but after going through 4 levels and those being your only way of being efficient, it gets tiresome. Especially the last level, where for some reason, enemies then get a fucking bazooka that just one-shot you instantly. And they are not afraid to shoot that bazooka right in front of their fucking face, killing themselves in the process. And I was getting so fucking frustrated with this fucking level, because it's in a level where it's like, if you're in a level, like in some levels, it's closed corridors, so you can easily like snake around bullets and like to their visions, and then come up on them. But there are some big open areas where they can easily then just shoot at you, and there's nothing you can do, but hopefully you get in time before they shoot. And every enemy has like a sound effect that shows you that they're going to shoot you. Like there's a shotgun guys, you hear them cock their shotgun, there's a pause, then they shoot.
Yeah,
so it does give you a heads up. And like with the bazooka, you hear the then it launches. So everyone has a sound effect and all that stuff. It is cool that they can kill each other though by accident with crossfire, especially. There is a funny moment in the game I do like, is that when you get out of the lab, you go into the skyscraper building and it introduces a new enemy, which is this tiny little scrawny person who just looks like some random like lab rat with a pistol. And so what he does, he only shoots you once with a pistol and all that stuff, but he'll run away scared from you if you run towards him. So there's a time that I was running towards this guy, and he was running the opposite way. But apparently when I did it, he turned the opposite direction and then shot some other guy in the fucking face, killing him instantly. So it was pretty funny to see the habit. Just this gorilla chase this dude. The guy just immediately turns and runs and just shoots another person, killing him. And then I killed him. So it was just a funny thing.
The head friendly fire turned off.
Yeah. The music is also built into the game, where whatever you do, the game kind of adds a little sound effects to the soundtrack, and it's all jazz. So it's pretty cool how they do that. And it's kind of funny too, because jazz doesn't start until you attack an enemy or if an enemy attacks you. So you can go through like a whole level if you don't get like attacked or you don't attack them without any real music being played, except for maybe some like light taps and stuff like. But as soon as like shit hits the fan or you start killing people, the music just kicks up, which is really good. And the game has fantastic music in it.
That's cool.
And yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely worth it's like a $15 to $10 game, I would say. And I think though it's like $20 to $25. I think maybe even $30. I never remember looking at the price of it. But with Xbox Pass, if you got some time to chill and you want to play a simple game where you just want to, it's a good game just to chill out to. You pick up, you try a level and all that stuff. It has a fast respawn when you die, which is nice. So it's a good game. It's a good pickup game.
How long did it take you to
beat? 2 sit-downs. That's it.
Okay.
It's super easy because there's only 4 levels, and it's kind of like a time trial level, so it expects you to run through these levels. So yeah, it's pretty short, and that's another reason why I don't think it's really worth what it's paying for. But I mean, also there's it has a beautiful style to it, very unique gameplay, but also very simple at the same time too. That doesn't make it's not that unique and special, but it's well done in a way. And because I feel bad, because once again I know that making video games is not an easy task, and this was made by a very small team, and it shows that they did care about the game. But yeah, just the price on it, honestly, if it was really just a $10 game, definitely worth that much money. And if you're just looking for something good to play, definitely give this one a go. But still, like, if I'm being an honest critic, yeah, about a 6.
Here's the thing,
yeah.
I mean, I think everyone does this, I don't think that a lot of games are worth $60 anymore, and maybe that's just my narcissism on the industry, but
I totally agree, too, with that.
I think that a lot of people also just, like, they know that people are going to buy it at 60, and then the sale prices come in, like, a month later. And this happens with almost every game now. So I think that that's the thing, is that it's not necessarily that games are... Well, not that games are losing quality, but more that we expect to not pay as much because the discount comes so quickly after a game comes out these days. There's just such a small turnaround rate for, like, the people that are going to spend full price. They'll buy that day one or week one or whatever, and then anyone that's on the fence then will send out the sale 2 weeks later. I mean, I see this with AAA games these days. It happens all the time. So
okay, so on Steam it's actually it's okay. So it's a $15 game right now. It's on sale for on sale for $9. Definitely worth that cost. At that cost, I'd bump the game up to. So if I actually took out the cost and all that altogether, overall I'll give the game 6 or 6.5. So yeah, definitely, and without the sale, it's $15. So yeah, actually they did price it very well. So I thought on the Xbox, I thought they were asking for $30. I don't know why I thought that, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, if you don't have Xbox Pass and you're looking for a good time trial game, this is definitely up your alley then. I think it's because it opens up an arcade mode, which it gives you points for how fast you do it, how many people you kill. And then there is a hard mode, which I didn't bother because even though the first 3 levels were easy, the last level was annoyingly frustrating. Which it wasn't even none of it was my fault. It was just the layout because it's also each level is also randomized too. Like the layouts can be different every single time you die, the layout's a little bit different. Like they switched out rooms a little bit.
Okay.
So it is randomized, which is cool, but then it also gets into an unfair moment. And honestly, if they took out the bazooka team, like at the last level, this would be a really good fucking game. I'd like it a lot more, but it's just annoying at the last level they have the bazooka people. So yeah, 6 out of 5. 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Another game I played that I said I wanted to play was Creature in the Well, and this is the one I said that looked like that game that we what was that other game called that we said that you said maybe had too much hype to it, and I kind of disagreed.
Oh man, I don't know. I
that?
say that with everything.
Yeah. Shoot, I kind of feel bad now that I can't remember it because I like it. It's when you that game I was talking about was that if you die, you come back to life, and you play as like a dude.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells. So yeah, so kind of like a Dead Cells kind of graphics a little bit, but instead of a 2D platform, it's 3D symmetrical from a single point of view. It is. I didn't realize what I was getting into. It is basically a pinball puzzle game, and so like. In the game, every room you have to charge up. You're basically a robot, and your main job is to restart the factory. You don't know really what the factory does. You just know that this factory is guarded by this monster who talks to you, saying, "It's been 100 centuries. What are you doing? You've been here like you're a sole robot. And your robots have stopped doing your jobs a long time ago." And your way of powering up the how you power up the factory is by taking these electrical floating orbs and then throwing at these charging stations, which are kind of like, the classic pinball things where you remember if a pinball hit a little thing, it would bounce off of it and make a little sound to it too.
Like a bumper?
Like a bump. Yeah, they're like bumpers. Like there's circles, oval bumpers, all that stuff.
Okay.
And that's what's in this game. And your main goal is just to light them all up in the room. And now in some areas, there will be things that will turn the balls into damage, attacking balls that come at you, which you have to reflect by either capturing them or hitting them away. And it's an interesting puzzle game, but it's also very, very slowly paced out because once again, you hit the balls and you have to, hit them right. And even when you hit them right, you have to let them bounce around and stuff, and then they come back at you, but then they might reflect different ways. And you have the ability to move around all that stuff. There's no punishment for missing anything because you just take damage from enemies, which then use projectiles to hit you, which is pretty easy to avoid all that stuff. So there's no real dying in the game. You can die,
Okay.
and all it does is knock you out, and you just come right back in. Everything's still unlocked. So I mean, if you really like pinball games, this is definitely up for you. But I felt like, especially when I got to this one point where you had to hit levers which raised walls and then lowered walls, it got too much for me. I'm I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just slightly different. There is no unique enemies that ever popped up. I was actually already halfway, maybe a quarter through the game, and the boss fight is the exact same boss fight where you only see this monster I told you about. You only see his arms and his eyes. It's very well done artistically. But all he does then is that you always find the same type of platform after you start up a certain part of the generator, and he pulls down. You go on this platform, he pulls you down, and then you just have to charge up these stations as his hands come up, and he shoots these little red things that slowly float towards you. Which all you have to do is just reflect one of the balls at it, and these balls constantly spawn right next to you. So it's you have unlimited of these balls. And you get bonus charges if you keep using the same things, but you can charge up your own balls to max basically level by yourself because you have one ability to charge up balls, which you grab them from the air and you charge them up, and another one to hit them away. So there's really no reason to try to keep the combo going. There's no combo marker that tells you to do it. There's no bonus. There is no threat. It's actually even better just to shoot those to charge up balls, throw them at things you need to charge, and the bumpers to charge them up. And then just shoot out to spare ones when they get too close to you. But since you can move around and stuff, it's easy to dodge them. Even though they're homing at you, it's still easy. And so back to the boss fight though. So you charge up a certain bumper in a certain area, and then the platform raises. And then you do the same thing, and then the platform raises, and you do it one more time. and then it just has the creatures receding, and then that's it, and then you won. So just think of that and repeat that, I guess, 7 or 8 more times, then you beat the game. But I just...
So what you're telling me is you loved it.
No, not really. But if you like pinball puzzle games with a cute art style and a cute little story, I'd give this game like a 4.5 or a 5, to be honest. What dragged me in was the style, but after I found out what the gameplay was, I kind of lost interest pretty fast. I was just
really
going because
niche
it was
kind
easy.
Of genre anyway. I
yeah,
mean,
it
pinball
really
puzzle,
is.
I don't think I've heard of any game like that before.
Exactly. I mean, credit for uniqueness, but that's definitely not for me. And the pace and like how you do levels is really slow. Unless you nail it just perfectly, but trying to nail it just right, like to reflect a pinball with a mouse or even just with an analog stick is really fucking hard. Especially since it's in like a third person view when you're looking down. It's kind of like a Diablo, it's like a Diablo thing, except the camera's fixed.
You mean isometric?
For each isometric with the camera fixed.
Yeah, okay.
And trying to be accurate with a pinball with that is fucking hard. Even with it gives you like a little air where you're aiming, you're seeing it from an angle from a third person, so to be accurate is impossible. So, and it doesn't really matter though because there's no penalty in missing. Unless in some places though, like things are timed, so you have to charge it up before it goes back and if it goes back, you have to start from all the way from the beginning in the challenge area, which just gets annoying because it's not really your fault you're missing it. It's because it's too difficult to aim in an isometric point of view when your character can move around and the camera doesn't. So it's just annoying. And they get away with it because there's no punishment except wasting your own time to start from the beginning. And if you die, nothing happens. You don't lose power cells, nothing bad happens to you. And you gain power cells to open up doors and to upgrade yourself. So you can actually skip a lot of puzzles, but eventually these doors you unlock with your power cells, it eats up a shit ton. So if you do each single puzzle room you get into, you're totally fine. You have plenty of stacked. But that means you have to do every single puzzle room, which is every single room you basically go into.
All right.
Yeah.
We're spending a lot of time on this game that we hate. So
yeah,
not a good game. It's a not a good game.
4.5 out of 10. I would say if you do not want to do a pinball puzzle, please skip it. Sorry guys who made it, if you ever do listen. Another one I played though was another game that I was talking about I wanted to play was Bridge Construction Portal, which it's a good bridge construction game. It just basically bridge construction on steroids, and there is no real punishment for building like your bridge any way you want to, which you're going to have to, but there wasn't really a challenge. Like there was no limitations, so I didn't really feel challenged in the game. So I kind of just dropped that one too as well. I can give this a rating because I just don't know if it was just really me, but you can get pretty nuts with the bridges you make. But when I played bridge construction games, I did like where you're always kind of limited for how much money you can use and all that stuff. In Bridge Construction Portal, there is none, which is cool because your mind is endless. But it also made it too easy. And also, you also had to make bridges that could withstand like freaking carts that would fall from the sky and land on them, which kind of bothered me because the main reason why I liked the other bridge construction games when I played on the PC is that you're building for like real live event, like dealing with like real heavy loads and stuff. And I always thought that was really cool doing that. But in this, you're dealing with unreal situations to the extreme, like where you have carts fucking slamming down your fucking bridge for going like 50 miles per hour. I'm like, all right. I mean, it's kind of hard to build a bridge that could take a fucking car ramming in it from outer space. And so for me, I was just like, so I kind of lost interest. But I mean, for people who really love bridge construction games, you would love this one because it's on fucking steroids where it's endless in what you can do. But for me, it petered out pretty fast.
Okay.
5 out of 10. Did what it was supposed to do, but I don't care.
A lot of mediocrity this week, huh?
Yeah, but I'm happy though. I still am glad I got a chance to try them, and I didn't have to pay for them. it's like I shit on Creature in the Well. It was a cool concept, but it got old fast. I'm still happy I played it and got to experience a new type of gameplay, honestly. Like, because you know me, I love fucking puzzle games. I never played a puzzle game like that before. So, which I thought was cool and interesting, but after I enjoyed the new experience, it got old really fast.
Okay.
And Bridge Construction Portal, you know, I haven't played a bridge building game in a long time. It's just that Portal wasn't the one for me. I wanted more standard one. I mean, it's kind of weird to say a standard bridge building game, though. But, yeah. And Ape Out, I'm happy I played it once again. And I loved, I think it was the publisher's Revolver Digital or something?
Yeah, Devolver Digital.
Yeah, love them. I think they make really unique games. I can't wait to play their Banana game they came out with, too. That one looks like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And I hope that gets onto Xbox Pass, because if it does, I'm going to tell you that much. I'm going to be playing it right away. But out of all of that, though, I played those, except for one game that I'm really enjoying is The Outer Worlds.
Yeah, me too.
That game, I immediately fell in love with it as soon as I saw the customization options of just like when you build your character and how you can make your character stupid for extra points, and if you make them stupid, it unlocks a dumb I don't forget what they said, but it was like stupid word answer or something like that. So like your character becomes an idiot, so he gets a new option to select in conversations and stuff for being stupid, which
that's fun.
Yeah, I was so excited to see that. I didn't put that on this character, but my next character I'm gonna make is definitely gonna be a dumbass, and so I'm just so happy that option is there. And the reason why I'm so excited about that is because that was something I was looking really forward to in Fallout 4. And like in Fallout 4, I thought they were really going to go heavy more back into the dialogue, but they went the opposite direction. And then Outer Worlds, they went heavy into the dialogue. It was like they went heavy into the story and talking and all that stuff. They do have combat, but like what I was excited most about Outer Worlds is the conversations, the ability to say what I want to say and do and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. How many hours have you played, and what level are you?
Okay, so I think I'm level 5. I don't know what. I still haven't powered up my ship yet. I still haven't done the first major choice yet.
Okay.
I'm like right now I'm about to make it, but I'm trying to talk to everyone first to see if I can do something else instead, because I'm having a difficult time choosing what I want to do. So okay. I'm so like right now I have everything cleared out to do it. I already got to the thing to make the choice. But before I made it, I'm like, I'm going to talk to everyone because it's a pretty unique game. I'm going to see if there's maybe some option that I can find. Because my guy's pretty charismatic, though. My character I have right now, he's charming as fuck. He's super smart. Except he gets pissed off very easily. So.
Okay.
And I can see that in the dialogue. And so I'm also pretty excited to see what happens if I make a really friendly person. To see if I make, because like, I took a penalty in the last thing, and so my guy gets like, it says he's short-tempered, and so I'm noticing a lot of my dialogue choices. It's a lot of like, can we just hurry the fuck up here? Because I don't want to talk to you. Or it's like I get a lot of jobs. It's like, wow, I just didn't care. And a lot of them were just like leave conversation. So it's pretty funny to see this how my character can be a total fucking asshole.
All right, I'm definitely a bit further than you are then. I put about 10 hours in, and I'm level 16. So...
Wait, you're level 60?
16. 1-6.
16. Okay, I was like, fuck, that's cool.
So, let's see. You can give your guy a job, like... As a very small thing that you can do, you can give your character a job for, the idea bonus. Is that they were frozen beforehand, and then there's, like, this big... It was like a cryo thing where they freeze you and then they do space travel and then you wake up the same age. But you get to pick your job beforehand. And it hardly matters except it gives you one additional point into something. So I picked cashier. So my guy's an ex-cashier.
Mine was like lab rat. He cleaned out science tubes and stuff.
Yeah.
I went really heavy into science with this character.
Same.
Which I absolutely love, because in the Fallout games, if you like went to science, you get like bonuses and science weapons. But in Fallout, you don't get science weapons until a much, much later fucking game, which is so infuriating. But in this, you get science weapons or science effect things to your weapons right off the bat, basically, in the game, which is like, fuck yeah. So even though I'm not good in, like, one-handed weaponry and other stuff, I still do a shit ton of damage because I have all scientific weapons in a way of, like, they have scientific abilities like lightning and plasma. So I'm like, it just made me so happy because I've always liked to go to the choice of science in Fallout, but every single time I did that, wasn't fully effective until much later in the game, which I thought was bullshit. In this one, it gives you the option of fucking both, which it should always have done. It's just like, you have no idea how happy I was when I finally did, like, realize as soon as I found out you can just upgrade your weapon to a plasma weapon, I was like, oh, there goes my fucking, and I can get bonuses now on my weapon damage. So I'm even more effective in combat.
Yeah. I would say, people keep relating this game to Fallout. I would say it's equal parts Fallout and Borderlands, though. It's Bethesda in the sense that it's an RPG. You can sneak, you can loot, you can fight, you can talk to people for quests. Like, basically copy-paste from that. But it's Borderlands, I would say, in the sense of the combat. If you have if you level up your companions, all of your companions get special abilities, which is really cool. As Mike was saying, there's elemental damage. You can do caustic. You can do shock damage. You can just do hard ammunition, or like between a handgun and a heavy machine gun, like high caliber, low caliber.
They have light, medium. They have light, heavy bullets, and then they have energy bullets. So those are the three ammo types: is light, heavy, and then energy, which is obviously all scientific weapons and stuff.
I like that that's not overly complicated. For all the different types of weapons that there can be, there's only 3 different types of ammo. Like
even
shotgun,
with the grenade launcher, a grenade launcher uses heavy ammo. I was like, because I found a grenade launcher and I was like, wait, do I need to get grenades then? And I'm like, wait, I have ammo. Then that's when I realized, oh, it uses heavy ammo. That's kind of nice, and then you're not bogged down in your inventory.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, if you don't think about it, it's totally fine. And honestly, I like it that way, because...
Me too.
I think, like, the game that I have the biggest issue with for ammo is, like, PUBG and Fortnite, because it's like, oh, what gun do you have? And then you gotta go into your menu, and you're like, what ammo is this? Oh, that's right, 556 or something, or...
it's like every assault rifle in that game has 20 different type of ammos, and then every pistol has 20 different type of pistol ammo. And it's like, only one works with one, and it's like, fuck me.
That's a slight exaggeration, but the point is that you have to always go into your menu and double check. This game makes it really easy.
It's exactly how fucking PUBG is. It's you find a gun, and you have to go through like 20 different types of ammo to find the one you need. Like, oh, yay. And then you get shot in the fucking head by some cheater. And then they teabag you.
Settle down. Where did this rant come from? We're not even talking about PUBG.
I know. I just felt like doing it. I haven't ranted today, so I feel like I need to do some rant.
Goddamn movie theaters.
Then I have to rant in every podcast. If I don't rant, I freak out. So I'm getting out of the way. All right? Got to do in small doses.
There you go.
All right?
So anyway, I think that it takes the personality of Borderlands 2 and the combat, and it mixes it with the RPG elements of Skyrim and of Elder Scrolls and Fallout, where you can steal, you can sneak, you can get companions and stuff. But
I kind of feel bad comparing it to the other these games, especially the Fallout games, because this game actually works. I have not run into any issues at all. This is a solid made game.
I've had one or two bugs. There was a time where I was looting a chest and the menu wouldn't go down, so I had to autosave and autoload, but it took 2 seconds to fix it.
I think I ran into one bug, and that was I don't know even if it was a bug or not, but it was kind of I got a choice in a dialogue that I didn't think I was supposed to know at all. I was trying to think how do I know this? How does my character even know any of that at all? And so I think that was the only bug I ever ran into, though. I had no other issues so far. I've been playing quite a bit.
I've got a pretty good story about the game, though. Well, not a story, but it is a very small spoiler in the sense that it doesn't ruin the story, but it's something that you can do in the game. I don't know if you want to hear it or not, but I would like to share
Man. For content, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So in the game there is a priest that you talk to, and
Yep.
if I'm familiar with the story, the priests, like, they kind of flip religion on its back. Like, everyone in the religious department is more religious for science. I think they call it scientism, and so, like, that's their religion. It's kind of like a
There's the Flophoists, and then there's like these people, yeah, and so like they determine what the big plan is by using facts. They say,
yeah,
and
it's
then,
like how. Yeah, it's like people who think, non-creationism or anything. It's basically if they had their own religion for science. So it's kind of an interesting concept. But anyway, if you do a certain specific thing for this guy, he can actually become a companion for you. So
yeah, I turned him down.
okay, well, it's cool. You can have more than one companion. So I've got I've got 4 companions, but you can choose 2 at any time to take out. And
So do they stay on your ship then?
yeah.
Okay. Can you only bring, if you have more, so like let's say you have, like you said, like 5 companions, can you only bring out 1 with you if you only want to bring 1 with you? Or do you always have to bring 2 then?
You can bring 1. It's fine.
Even though you have other people to bring?
Yeah, there's even a perk where you get extra damage if you don't bring anyone out. It's just called like the
Lone
lone
Wolf. Yeah.
So you
Okay,
can mix and match
cool.
however you want. But anyway, so this dude came with me, and they all have special abilities. One of the first people that I think you have to get is her name is like Pavlo, whatever her name is, something with a P. Let's just call her Pablo, but her name isn't Pablo. It's something else. So anyway, there's Pablo, who, like, she's got this slam down hammer, and it kind of like shocks and stuns everyone in the area. This clergyman, though, this religious guy, he's like straight up like a normal dude, and then once the mission comes up that he can join your team, then he becomes like this badass type of dude.
Yeah, he's like fucking James Bond. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, he says he literally tells you everything he'll do for you if you let him join your team. It's like, wait, what? You do all that?
He just like throws all of his goodwill to the wind. But basically, so whenever you click the ability for him, he like has a one-liner before he pulls out a shotgun. So, okay. So, like, you click, X or V or whatever is the special command for him, and he pulls out a shotgun and he holds it waist down, at his waist, and he says like some stupid ass one-liner, but it's so funny. He's like, "This is what happens when you mess with a man from the cloth," and he then the monster. Like, it makes the monster fall down and get paralyzed for a couple seconds, but it's so funny. He says that one, "This is what happens when you mess with a man from the cloth," and then he's got another one that he says, "This is something I learned in prison." Like, this guy was like all about religion and like composure an hour ago, and now he's like blowing people's kneecaps off. It's so funny. He's my favorite character that I've got. But I mean, if you have an opportunity to go back and get him, he's.
I haven't left him yet, but he just like when I was talking to him, he was like so fucking condescending to me and so fucking just pompous. It's like, I don't really want you on my fucking ship because I don't want to hear you 24/7 being a dick to me.
Oh yeah, he's a piece of shit, but still, like,
Yeah.
I can't help how funny he is in those action moments where you use like his special ability. It's so good. I actually.
Yeah.
I had to record it. I was gonna make a video on YouTube about it because it's just like basically everything that this guy says. Vicar Max. It's so good.
Yeah, I like it too that your character totally acknowledges it too. That like this guy is like not a normal fucking religious dude. This dude's kind of fucking a little weird.
Yeah.
So I wish I enjoyed seeing that in the dialogue. Like some of the choices I has, like to just totally just point. I was like, yeah, that's not normal for you to know that.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, my 2 cents, this podcast is running really long, I can tell, so I'm going to just say my 2 cents about Outer Worlds, and then, Mike, you can continue with what you were getting at. But I was just going to say that I really like how the characters actually have a personality, and their facial animations match that personality for the most part. They'll lift an eyebrow. It's not the monotone BS that we've come to expect from Bethesda. they contribute to the dialogue a lot too. So if you're talking to someone, sometimes they'll chip in, and I think that is a small but really important feature. It makes them feel a bit more there. The other thing too,
a little bit of a Star Wars Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic or the Old Republic?
Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay, yeah, I never played that one. And then the other things I was gonna say is there's a different take on looting and sneaking, and I really like thievery in this game. It's interesting. So instead of just being able to pickpocket anyone whenever, like in Fallout and Skyrim, there's like the eye and it shows if you're hidden or if you're visible. You don't get that same cue in this one. You just have to hope that no one's looking at you. So if you want to pickpocket, you have to stand behind someone and hold the action button. You know, on the computer it's E. You have to hold E for 5 seconds, and as long as he doesn't get overly suspicious or see you or move or anything, then you're in the clear. But if anything happens, then you get caught. And what
interesting.
Yeah, but also to build up on top of that is that they know that they don't want people auto-saving and auto-loading all the time. So what they do is they give everyone basically one chance to fuck up, get caught, and then try again. So if you ever get caught, there's like 5 different things you can do, depending on what kind of a character you're building. You can intimidate them and say, like, look away, and then they'll go away. You can bribe them. You can persuade them that you were doing nothing. You can lie, and you can say something else. So, like, whatever you're putting points into, you can basically diffuse getting arrested once. And then if you try it again and you get caught by the same person, then he opens fire on you. But it gives you a lot of opportunity to kind of fuck up and try it over and over again. It's really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then the last thing is I really like the skill tree. Skill tree is awesome in this game. Just all the points in general. There's like 5 main categories, and then those break off into 3 small categories. For each point you put into a main category, it puts 1 point into the minor ones. So for example, charisma, I think, is 1. And so that's persuading, lying, and intimidation. So if you put 1 point into charisma, it puts all 1 point each into the subcategories, and that can go up to 100. But once you hit level 50 on any skill, then you have to put in points separately. So it really encourages you to have a balanced character and get all those points to at least level 50, because it counts triple, basically. 1 point is actually 3 points in all these subcategories. So it helps your character get really well balanced right away. And then from there, then you can start specializing. So I really like that idea a lot, where you can kind of, you don't have to, you can kind of change your character on a whim, and it feels, I don't know how to properly describe it, but I just really like how it's like you become a specialty. The more and more skills, the more and more points that you put into it, you become like a specialist, you know?
Yeah, it's an RPG game, you know? That's what an RPG game is supposed to feel like.
But you focus more and more into it. Like before, putting points into charisma would put points into intimidation if you want to intimidate people. But after a certain amount of time, you have to dedicate points exclusively to intimidation. And that, I think that that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it really makes you decide what type of character you want to play as. You know, it makes you, like, develop this person you're playing into a real person, you know, to who you want that person to be, which I think is what every RPG game should be like, and I think this game nails it pretty well in how to do that.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's my 2 cents on Outer Worlds. Mike, did you have any final thoughts on that?
Really, it is a finally good game it's focused on a good story and they have a great mechanic in how to interact with the story. And it has a really good, decent combat system, which is something I've been dying to have, where it's just a really solid RPG game where your choices are endless and that there is constant replays because there's so many different ways to go about doing things. And I can already say that I'm super excited to already get done with this playthrough to try a whole different other way. And if you have a chance to buy it or you think about buying it, I'd say buy it. And you have the Xbox Pass, just honestly, if you're looking for a good RPG game, download this game and start playing it. You will not regret it.
Early impressions, 8.5 out of 10 for me.
8.5 out of 10 for me too. And another thing too, the weapons are really coolly designed too. I like every single weapon I pick up. I think every weapon is unique and cool. Mm-hmm. And I think that's awesome.
Yes. Okay, I've got one other game I want to mention, then we can move on to our top 5. And this is a doozy of a top 5, so I'm just going to cruise through this last game. So I played Into the Breach, and really fun game, really strategic. It's a grid-based game where it's also turn-based, grid-based, and you have 3 characters, and you have to defeat, the other enemies that are constantly spawning on the map. So, like, they have their intentions, and then you have 3 movements to basically move your characters, and then they follow through with their attack. And there's a lot of manipulation with, like, if they say that they're going to attack downwards, you can push them or you can hit them where they'll move, to the next piece of the grid, and instead of attacking, the object that they were trying to hit, they'll instead attack each other. It's a really cool idea, but the problem is that it is a bit of a roguelike, where if you lose, you have to start from scratch, basically, and this game can be several hours, so it's tough.
Ooh, that kind of made me lose interest in it.
Yeah, so, Mike, exactly what you're saying is, I wish that there was a bit more continuity with it. Out of your 3 characters, whenever you lose completely, you can take one of them and bring them back to the beginning, but I just don't think it's enough continuity. I played the game twice. I played the game twice, and the second time I got pretty far, and then I lost, and it's just too much to redo over and over again. As much as I like the game, there's no way that I can convince myself that I want to go back and play all that shit again. So
I literally downloaded it to give it a try, but after hearing that, like, I'm sure it's a good game, but you know me when it comes to roguelike games, I'm very finicky on them, so I'm gonna give that one a pass.
It's good. I'm telling you, it's fine.
It's good.
The thing, I think what's going to happen with you is the same thing that's going to happen with me, is I enjoyed the first 2 playthroughs, but once I realized that I'm going to have to do like an hour and a half worth of gameplay again, I quit on it. But for the first pass, it's really good. You should still try it once.
Okay. I mean, it's down on there, yeah, so I'll give it a good go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I cannot possibly wait any longer. This week is top 5 best horror games ever. Mike and I, gloves are coming off here, because typically we give a bit more of a criteria in terms of, best scare. Like, we don't ever specifically say best blank in a genre, but this is the first one.
Yeah.
This is the first time that we're doing it. Best horror games, period, in our eyes. So, I am excited. Mike, who started last time on their list?
You did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
So I'll start this time.
Mike,
so
let's get at it.
So, my number 5 for best horror games
of all time.
All time.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I would have to say Fear. Fear is a great action fucking horror game.
Fear 1?
Fear 1.
Okay,
and
okay.
I played all of them. I think that they're all fantastic, but Fear 1 is just as good as the rest, and the combat in that game is fucking intense, and there's a great undertone of horror, because there's a fucking ghosts involved too as well. It's a great fucking, if you want like an action horror movie put in a game, Fear is where you go to. It is fun. It is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It is enjoyable. And, like, I cannot just undermine, like, the AI in this is incredibly smart and a fun challenge, too. It blows my mind how good the AI is in that game. And it's a simple first-person shooter where you go through a level and you beat it and then you go to the next level. But, man, it's just a fantastic game. It's good. It's fun. It's been a long time since I remember actually having if you want a really fun gunfight with AI, with some horror aspect to it, Fear is immediate download. It's immediate, you buy and you download it, and it still holds up today. You cannot miss out on this game. Seriously. If you just want fast-paced, good gunfight to happen with really cool just fucking things happening to you while it goes down, Fear is the way to go. Hands down. No doubt. Number 4.
No, I was just going to quickly mention Fear and Condemned Criminal Origins. They actually incorporated this thing into Fear. That was the first time I ever saw it, but Condemned also has it. But it is where, no matter how you're playing the game, you have to look at... Mm-hmm. To trigger something to happen, you have to look in a certain direction or something. So, like there's some games where you play where you'll walk into a room and you'll hear like or something breaking. You're like, what was that? What happened? You're looking around. This game, basically, it doesn't trigger a cutscene or it doesn't trigger someone moving unless you are specifically looking at it, and that makes it very scary. Condemned Criminal Origins does the same thing. You'll see someone quickly hide behind a wall if you look backwards or something, but a lot of games, they don't take the time to do that, and it's really scary because basically in your head, once you realize that that's the tactic that they play off of, you're like, fuck, if I don't look at it, it's not going to jump out and scare me. So I remember playing these kinds of games, kind of like looking more at like angling my screen down at the ground because I was like, no, I don't want it to fucking happen.
It's basically like peering through your fingers when you're watching a horror movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You just slowly urge up. Just like, maybe I could just at least see their feet and it'll go.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many games that something happens regardless of whether you're looking at it or not. This game, I'm pretty sure this one and Condemned, unless you know otherwise, Mike, those are the only two games that I know. Actually, you know what? Also, PT. PT did this as well, where you have to look at something for it to trigger what it wants to show you. But, it forces you to put whatever the scariest thing is right in the middle of the screen. Otherwise, the cutscene doesn't show, you can't continue, like, etc., etc. It is horrifying. That is correct, Mike.
Yeah, my God. It's so good, and it's so much fun. But my number 4 is Amnesia. Okay. Amnesia is it really is something that spawned out kind of like walking similar horror games, but this one is a one that I will never forget playing. It is truly a horrifying game. It is truly scary, but once you like kind of learn about the mechanics, it becomes less scary, yes, but when you play this game, it is something else. When I play this game, this was something I never really experienced playing a game before. Using darkness as your ally, but if you stay in the dark, you become more crazy and insane, and you can die from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to use light to keep yourself sane, but if you're in the light, the creature can see you, so you have to hide. But if you're hiding, especially near a creature, not only if you get insane from the darkness, but if you look at the creature, you get insane too. So you're constantly always not trying to look at the creature. But if you don't see where the creature is, you can't proceed forward. So like you said, you have to look at the, with Fear and Condemned, with this, you also have to look at them, but you also can't at the same time. So the game truly fucks with your head when you play. It also does a fantastic job of explaining the story in the background without it shoving it in your face.
The voice acting in that game is really good. Mike was just getting at, they tell a story where, you pick up notes, and it's not just reading the note through, technically it is, but the voice actor really puts his all into it. It's kind of based off of, old, back in the day, century, where people had their own castles and shit, and, they really do this good job of, selling this story. It's not just, some dude, today was, a scary night, and I did this scary fucking thing because I'm a stupid idiot. It's actually, the guy's my castle, it shrieks with the terrors of... I'm doing a shitty impression, but,
Yeah, no. It's fantastically well done with a great plot to it. And, how, you said when you explain the story, it's done well through the voice acting, and the writing is good, too. Which also goes to saying that the graphics are really well established in the game for what it is. And the settings and the light design all nail this tone perfectly well.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that really blew my mind, and I really, really hate it when you can't defend yourself in games. I absolutely find it completely boring and frustrating. It's something that's the most inconvenient thing ever, especially when you run into a boss you can't kill. It's just annoying. But Amnesia, throughout the whole thing, you are cool with it. You're fine with it. I never was bothered by it. I was like, fuck, I need to get out of here. But I was still compelled to play. Yeah. And, I never really got to a moment where I was pulled out of frustration. Like I said, in the not the last podcast, but I think the one previous to that one, when saying when you get into frustration, you're no longer scared. You're just mad. But this one, I never was frustrated with the game. I was always constantly afraid. Always afraid to look. Always afraid to stay in the dark. Always afraid to stay in the light. The game was good in making you think that everywhere you go is a danger. you can't fuck around, which I think is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So number 4, Amnesia. Definitely a must buy for everyone, especially if you love horror games. Amnesia is a great stepping stone.
I mean, it's so dirt cheap these days. If I remember correctly, the Steam sale was up just today, and it's like $3. Like, you get 6 hours worth of content, and it's one of the best horror games.
So worth it.
It's
think about it, $3 is like 3 Xbox passes. Totally worth it. That's like when it's talking about quality of games. It's like, how much is Xbox Pass?
Yeah, instead of dollars, we'll just say it's, I went to Taco Bell today and I got a 5 Xbox Games Pass box meal or something.
Nice.
Instead of a $5 box meal. All right. So, Mike, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is a perfect, well-rounded horror game in the creepy realm of horror. And that is Little Nightmares. Mm-hmm. Little Nightmares is a fantastic platforming game. And it is the style of like claymation that is adorable, yet eerie, creepy, disturbing, and just sometimes even just terrifying with the creatures that you run into in this game. And it is it's like, Ben knows that I love this game. Like, this game I have a special place in my heart forever and ever. And, man, it just... a game that is just good. If it's a good platforming game with just a fantastic horror tone to it, just the sound of the eerie of the ship, of these creatures and when they move and when they just do the stuff they're doing, like just chopping up some random stuff. They're in the background. You're trying to sneak past, like, people not noticing you. And, like, the chase scenes are intense and heart-pounding.
The enemies are just genuinely scary, too.
Yeah. They're just straight out of a horror book, Like, what was that movie that was that was made from a horror book a movie that was made from a horror book that you just saw recently? It was, like Little Nightmare Tales of Scary Stories or something?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, yeah.
Scary Stories Tell in the Dark is a completely great art style that is like put into this game with claymation into it, kind of. That's what you get out of this, is like that book art style into the game, into a kind of game. It is fucking fantastic. There's no dialogue. It's all just, the story is all shown through just visual. Everything's just shown to you. Nothing's explained to you. Nothing is said. You hear nothing. You just play the game, and you just know where you're supposed to be going and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just so fucking good. It is like Nightmare Before Halloween, like creepiness to it. It's just so good. It's fantastic. And if you've never played it, please pick it up, give it a go. The Halloween sale's going on, so it's probably on a huge sale too. It's not an expensive game.
Yeah.
It's just, I just love it to death. Just love it to death. It's one of my favorites. One of them out there. Little Nightmares for number 3. Ben, what are your bottom 3?
Okay. So, top 5 best horror games. I put a lot of thought into this. And, Mike, I apologize if I'm going to say some games didn't make this list. And I apologize if some of these games are on your list. But there are some obvious ones to me that I think horror and I think, I had a great time playing them. Those are games that are Resident Evil, Silent Hill 2, like ones that if you had to guess which games would be on my list, you would probably say at least one of those, if not the other, if not both. Right. But the way that I decided this is I think that Resident Evil hasn't ever really scared me. I think that the game can survive without being horror. Same thing
Likewise.
And Silent Hill 2, I got scared during that game, but it is such a pain in the ass to play Silent Hill 2. I'm so glad I played it, but I don't think I would ever touch that game ever again. It's kind of a one and done for me.
With you too.
So there's these on my list are games that not only was I scared to death by them, but regardless of how scared to death I was, I still love them. If you said, Ben, let's play this game tonight, I would download it because I still love these games.
they have to, at their very essence, be horror. I don't think Resident Evil fits that, but they also have to, at their essence, be fun. And I don't think that Silent Hill 2 fits that, because Silent Hill 2 is so old and broken these days. The controls fucking suck, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So, these are the games that fit that criteria. Games that I love, that regardless of how horrifying they are to me, I would still pick up and play them. Number 5 is The Evil Within. And first off, when I started playing The Evil Within, I played an hour, I put it down, I didn't touch it for a month because I was so scared. Yeah. And
I love you, Ben, so much.
It's it is scary, dude. When you, after that first, okay, for anyone who hasn't played it now, I'm sorry, but it's been a couple years. So you are basically knocked unconscious in the first 5 minutes, and then for the next hour or several, you're basically wandering around with like a knife, and that's it. And that was some of the most horrifying to me. Like, I get so scared so easily, and here are, like, you know, a bunch of crazy people surrounding you, and the game eventually gets to like a Resident Evil feel where you're just totally decked out with guns and crazy, like, you know, unstoppable killing force. But for the first half of that game, you are like completely defenseless, depending on what difficulty mode you're playing on. And I loved that. I thought that the game had a really good action payoff at the end. The final boss kind of sucked, but the horror aspect of it definitely came early. Of like, you know, what can these enemies actually do? How much should I be afraid of them? And slowly learning all the aspects about that game and learning your lessons took so long, you know? Killing an enemy and then, oh shit, he still gets up and attacks me. Okay, I've got to burn them. Oh fuck, I've got 3 matches and there's 10 guys in this room. Like, it was so scary to learn everything and how to utilize what limited supplies that you had while also being able to survive. But at the end of it, I felt so satisfied by that entire game. The Spider Woman will be eternally etched into my head as like probably the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen in a game. I hated her so much.
Spider Woman. I don't remember the Spider Woman.
The one who hated flames. She crawled around with the black hair.
Man, I had to look her up.
Oh,
I barely remember anything from that game.
I hated her so much. Her name, it was like they called her like Ashley, or she had like a female name.
Oh, yeah, now I'm starting to remember her. She shows up quite a bit, doesn't she?
Yeah, so you think that you kill her, and this is where it kind of takes roots from Resident Evil. By the way, the same guy that made the original Resident Evils made this game, so that's why there's a bit of crossover here. But she comes, you can kill her, and like you can pick up items from her corpse when she's dead, but she will come back at least 3 or 4 times throughout the game. So
yeah.
Picture the look on my face when I finally kill the fucking scariest thing in the game that I imagine, and then of course I still have to go visit her 3 or 4 times. And every time that you see her, well, almost every time that you see her, it's a runaway mission. Like, you're not supposed to fight her. It is a flight, not a fight. And so that's why it's scary, is because they basically tell you, like, you can kill her, but you're gonna be SOL afterwards because you're gonna have no ammo, no nothing. So basically they force her to be as scary as possible and be like, this is an unwinnable battle unless you're a crazy person, so haul ass away.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. No. I'm probably gonna follow up every 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with this last sentence, but fuck Evil Within. I love it, but fuck Evil Within. Number 4 is a game that I haven't played in a while, but I played it with Mike was there. I played it with 2 other high school friends, and it just stuck. I don't know why, but it just stuck. And that game is called Fatal Frame. It's for PS2.
Fatal Frame.
So Fatal Frame, and Mike, I'm sure that these, like, this is a game that I'm sure are reminded, like, oh yeah, Ben's a pussy, because we played this together, and I can't watch the screen half the time when they're like, go through the door. I'm like, don't go through the door.
Yeah, it's always funny when you bring that up because like Evil Within, I immediately just compared to that's like Resident Evil to me, and so like Fatal Frame for me was like a whole different experience, and like it wasn't only you who was scared of it, it was also like some of our friends too were scared of it too.
Well, so Fatal Frame, it was scary in the sense that your character couldn't have been any more defenseless. Like, for a game that actually gives you weapons,
You play as like
It's like
a
the greatest
preteen.
fuck you to Ben.
You play as a preteen girl stuck in a haunted house, and you get an old Kodak camera for a weapon.
So and the only way to use the weapon is to look exactly at the ghosts.
Yeah,
or the monsters.
It's a magic camera, and whenever you take the ghost's picture, then it hurts them. So the only way to kill the ghost is to go into like picture mode and snap a picture when they're right in your face. And okay, I know I've told this story before, but I'll just do I'll say it quickly again. So there was this one time where there's this lady. If you know Harry Potter, there's the guy Nearly Headless Nick, where his neck is like thrown on backwards upside of his head. You know, his neck is holding on by a slim
barely
part.
attached. Yeah.
There was a woman that we came across in this game, and she's a ghost, so she's floating around, but she attacks you backwards, and her head is flipped over on her neck, upside down, coming at you. And that was horrifying to begin with, but also there was a time where like we were running away from her or trying to get enough distance away to turn around and you know, take a picture of her. And the game is all fixed cameras, the same way that old Resident Evil is, where you move into a room and you can't like rotate the camera around you. It's just fixed in a corner, which already sucks. Yeah, like it already sucks for moving around. But anyway, so run into this room, run out of the room, run down this hallway, and you can see the corner of the hallway, and that's about it. And so at this point, we're like, okay, we've got to be far enough away from her to attack her. So we quick turn around, snap a picture, the screen, and it always shows you the picture afterwards. So the screen flashes white, and then it kind of like, you know, shows it like the image being created, and then all of us in the room just go, oh my god, because in the picture, the woman's face takes up the entire frame, and it's just like, it was like some kind of fucking critical hit or something. Like, I'm pretty sure we couldn't have done more damage. But it was this lady's head, you know, upside down, like horrible face, taking up like the I don't know, the 40-inch TV screen that we were playing on. We were just like, no, screw this game. Someone else play right now.
I loved it. It was so good because Ben never likes looking at what's scary in games, and it's just so funny because in this it makes you fucking look at them, and so it was just great to watch you and other people play it.
Yeah,
and it's like, I just remember in the background yelling at you, like it's like, just get in the fucking room, just go.
Peer pressure, yo.
Mm-hmm. Just yelling at everyone just to get moving. It was just great. But that scene, oh man, that was a great one though. Absolutely, that one I will never forget that part.
And that was just one of plenty other parts. I mean, it was just a solidly built game. And once again, the game could have, I don't think it was an action or anything. It was just at its core horror, and we had a blast playing it. We played it with a group of 4, just passing around the controller. So that's probably why I liked the game a bit more than I should. But it was still, I mean, yeah, I would say that is number 4 for me. I had a great time playing it, and I would love to revisit that game any day of the week.
Yeah.
Mike, number 3 is going to be a little controversial for you. So my number 3 is actually PT. So
you motherfucker.
PT is
PT on here?
questionably a game or not. Because it stands for playable teaser, but is it a game?
It's a game.
Maybe.
There's a beginning and there's an end, and you can play it.
Okay.
And you can lose. So yeah, it's a game.
I thought you were gonna fight me on this a little bit. I had like a full.
If walking simulators are games, then that is a game.
Well, my stance is that even though it was a teaser for the full game, if you've ever played Portal 1. That game takes like 2 or 3 hours to beat. I definitely spent more time playing PT than I did playing Portal 1. So, if Portal 1 is a game, it doesn't matter how long it is still a game. And PT is the most horrifying game on this list. The most horrifying game that I've ever played at all. Even VR games, I would rather play a VR game than PT again, because it's horrifying in every way. Sound design, monsters, setting, everything.
That got me so excited for Silent Hill, the remake. I was pumped. I was jacked for it. I just couldn't wait to play that game. Like whatever the final project was supposed to be, I was set to play that damn game. I was so excited.
I can't even imagine a full campaign being that scary. I feel like my brain would just like shut off at a certain point.
I was so excited to play that game with you. I was like, this is a game I'm playing with Ben. Like, we're just gonna fucking stream it so we can watch each other play it or something. I was like, I was dead excited to play this game with you.
When I played PT,
never happened.
Yeah, when I played PT, it was Mike had a PS4. He invited me over. This was after the news broke that this was officially, you know, the Silent Hills PT. Because for a while, it was actually like a secret. So
yeah,
once we heard that Silent Hills was announced, then we started playing it. And Mike had played a little bit of it, and he invited me over. And it was like noon. It was like middle of the day. The sun couldn't have been brighter. We were sitting on a nice comfy couch. We ordered pizza. Like, I couldn't have been more comfortable. And I was shitting bricks. I mean, like, I'm so freaking scared. That game is horrifying in every which way. I can't. I watched a trailer, or sorry, I watched some gameplay today just to remind me of how scary it was. I couldn't make it a minute through. I was like, no, fuck this. I know that the girl in the game is gonna pop out and scare me after a while. I seriously watched gameplay of it 2 hours ago, and even the smallest things, like the chandelier, the only sound that you hear is the chandelier swinging slightly, going. And it's just, it gets to you, man. It freaking gets to you.
Remember when it gets replaced by like some type of container with some creature or person inside it and shakes and screams like bloody murder? Ah, that was a good scene. I love that scene. So well done. The sound effects in that game, the visuals.
The only reason that this game makes it on this list is because it is a playable teaser. If Silent Hills came out and it was a full game, I would probably not even have it on this list because it would just be an extended version of that, because I wouldn't be able to stomach it. I'm probably on the cusp of not even being able to stomach PT right now. It's the only reason it makes it on this list is because it's so fucking short that I might be able to stomach it.
I've never been so disappointed about a game not coming out. Like, I was even more disappointed than when I found out Half-Life 3 is not coming out. Is less disappointing that knowing that this type of PT is not getting a full game made by like these people and stuff. I was so heartbroken. I was so set. I was so pumped. I was ready to buy day one to get rid of, so there was like no spoilers for myself. I was set. And then that happened. I was like, oh man. I still have PT in my original PS4 that my brother has. I told him that the one thing he's not allowed to do is delete PT off of that thing. It's still on there.
Yeah.
So next time I'll have to make sure I get it from him and stuff, and I'll make you play it again, Ben.
So, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So those are my low 5, or my low 3. Number 5, Evil Within. Number 4, Fatal Frame, which is for the PS2. For any of you youngins, if you haven't heard of Fatal Frame, it's a really good series. It kind of died out though. And then number 3 is PT, short for Playable Teaser. Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2 should be known by everyone. My number 2 is Condemned, Criminal Orange.
Called it. No, I'm kidding.
That game,
it's good.
Is fucking fantastic. That game is so good. So good. It has a solid AI system where it tricks you in believing that these things are fucking with you hardcore and trying to play around you. You know, it's like if you have a gun, they'll hide around corners and like, you know, you see them and you know that they don't see you yet though, but you still have to walk up and get around them. But as you move around, you know, you can kick stuff and make noise, and that fucking makes you jump and turn. And as soon as you turn, they come up to attack you. And like how you defend yourself is pretty difficult. So even like the smallest enemy can be a threat to you, and your ammo is limited. So well done.
And your weapons break.
Oh, and your weapons break. And is it not satisfactory though when you take the back of a shotgun, it's like butt of a rifle, and just smash it against someone's head, and it breaks right when you do that, and shatters to pieces as you do it, and you go to do like a takedown move on them. And the plot is great. This game scared the living shit out of me. I had to crawl through this game, and that's saying something. And like my pinnacle favorite thing of the whole thing is the mannequins. Did you ever beat the game, Ben? Ever got into the mannequins?
No, but I've seen the gameplay of it. I didn't beat it.
Yeah. So like the mannequin scenes when you go into the strip mall, this closed down strip mall, and there's people who somehow get like casted in like mannequin parts, and then they stand frozen, and they can sneak up and get you then too as well. So as you're going through like all of these mannequins that move by like poltergeist weight towards you, some of them are people too. But still, like the best thing in this game is the sound of enemies running around you. You can't see them, but you just hear them moving around you, breathing very heavily, just like as you just like going slowly through. You just don't know if they're around that one doorway or behind that pillar, or if they're even in the wall to get you. And it's just so intense when you just get in getting the single hand to hand combat with a basic enemy, even with a weapon, is just fucking intense. It is just fantastic. And it's fun too doing the whole because you're a detective in this game and you have like all this detective gear too. It's kind of like CSI stuff though, a little bit fantasy.
Yeah. And it's you've
really
got like an old
use.
like Nokia like bulk phone, and you've got like a digital camera and stuff. But yeah,
that like scans blood for you and fingerprint for you too. Obviously it doesn't exist, but it's really cool to do that, and like the dialogue's really good too.
It's got some really cool like detective side missions that go along with the horror mystery of it. It's a really good mix of gameplay.
I really got to give this game another play. I haven't played in such a long time, but every time I talk about it, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to play again. Yeah, I got to give this one another go. It's kind of hard to explain unless you play it, because it's really like the AI and the sounds of this game that sell it so well, and how good it is as a horror game. And you're always alone. You don't have people with you. You're always alone. You don't have any allies. It's just you and just a bunch of unknown, which makes it great. But yeah, that's my number 2 is Condemned. It's something that stuck with me for a very, very long time, and I will never forget this game.
All right, my number 2 is Metro 2033.
Oof.
So
beautiful game.
This game is probably, if I had to choose which game to play on my list, I said that I would happily play any of them. But my number 1 would be the first game I'd want to play, but Metro 2033 would be a close follow-up, because all the other games, they're fun, they're horrifying, but Metro 2033 does just a great job of being scary, but also being playable, having upsides and downsides. There's fast parts and slow parts. The combat is great. Your guns will jam. Your guns need to be cleaned. Basically, okay. So I know we've talked about it a couple times before, but in case we haven't given a proper description, the Metro series is based post-apocalyptic in Russia, where anyone that survived was just coincidentally in the subway at the time. So now there's all these colonies that are now living in the subways between each station, and each station is like its own city. So you got to ride the rails to go from station to station. But with politics and with a bunch of other things, some stations are blocked. There's like the Nazi regime and the communist regime that are trying to build itself back up, and so like you have to sneak around in some areas. And then on top of that, there's also nuclear fallout monsters, and that's kind of where the horror aspect comes in, is because the monsters, you basically walk into an area and you've got your little light that you have to fucking, like recharge every couple minutes, because the game does a really good job in being realistic. You have to clean your gun, you have to recharge your flashlight, you have to change out your gas mask all the time. You have to have several filters for your gas mask, because you're living in a radiated world. So in terms of survival horror, everyone talks about Resident Evil, but I would say this one, in my eyes, is the king of survival horror, because there are so many things to consider before you get into a battle. Your gas mask can get ruined, which will basically fuck you for a while, because instead of changing out a filter, now you have to find another gas mask laying around, which there's like maybe one
It's
every
pretty
hour.
intense.
Yeah. So you've got a million things on your mind before you get into any battle, and that's what really makes this game scary to me. Is if you're facing up against a beast, then they're in the shadows. They're kind of like sneaky, and you have to really fucking see where you're going and use the shadows yourselves. If you're going up against the communist regime or the Nazi regime in this game, then if they send a bullet through your mask, then it's like, fuck, like you basically have to stay in that area. You can't move on to the next desolate area. You have to stay in that area until you find a gas mask again. So it kind of like forces you to like to loot around and stay in those areas until you find another gas mask. But it just does a really good job of not explicitly being. I mean, it is a horror game, but it's not like oh, the ghost is trying to get after you. It is a very realistic take on a horror game. There are people that have realistic emotions. Aside from your guy, who is mute as a really stupid fucking thing, because it
doesn't say anything.
It's so funny. Your character eventually gets married, which is the funniest part. Like your wife has never heard your guy say a word, and she's like, "I love you.
You are the one for me."
Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a little bit of a tangent there, but it makes me laugh. Otherwise, though, it's basically you in the subways with the tiniest fucking light you can think of, and like, let's just say 8 bullets to your name or something. Like, you always have like an odd number of bullets, like, half a clip or something.
And then, like, in the game, currency is also bullets too, as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you either buy something or you save your bullets, which is a very clever way.
Yeah. And I mean, if I had to pick a genre for what 2033 was for me, for what Metro was to me, I would say at first it is horror, and that's why it goes on this list. But also, it is so much more than horror, and that's why it becomes my second, is because I don't play the game just to get scared. I play the game because the story is great, because I love the survival aspect of it too, and it's just such a cool idea on top of everything else. The idea is so good. So I don't know. I think Metro... People are now starting to appreciate the game with Metro Exodus being out. I mean, that one had a lot of hype behind it. But when Metro first came out, it was definitely a sleeper. And then Metro Last Light came out, and it started to get more popular. And now with Metro Exodus...
what got me to play the first one. I just remember I just played it, and I was like, wow, I'm really glad I did play this.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
I remember the graphics, too, back in the day. I remember thinking, like, the facial animations specifically were really good.
I love the gunplay. The gunplay was so good.
Oh, that's another thing too. So whenever you kill a guy, you loot all the ammo and like guns, and like if he has filters or gas masks, you loot it off of him, and you can see your guy picking up the ammo off of his belt and like grabbing his gas mask.
You have to look at where it's at. You have to look to see like on his body, and then click it off of his body, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this game is ancient, but I will say that a lot of games didn't even take the time to do that back when this game came out. You just walked over like, your typical like ammo icon box and you got more ammo or something. This game you actually physically see it being on his belt and then being taken away. It felt very immersive for its time.
Right, because like every single time you saw a dead body, it's like, oh shit, dead body. But then you see like an ammo clip, it's like, oh sweet, an ammo clip or a canister. It's like, fuck yeah. So it was like a very interesting thing to experience, to actually see that what's on him is what you're gonna get.
And then the last thing too is also the lights. So whenever you're going through an area, you have the option to shoot out the lights, to blow out the lights as you go through. So it really gives you an opportunity to play a stealthy style, and a lot of times you need to, because like I said, you've got 8 bullets in your gun, and that's it. Like there's a lot of times where you do have to just slowly sneak your way through it and blow out the lights as you go along.
Outnumbered.
Yeah. So yeah, Metro 2033. I really love that series, specifically the first game.
Yep, I totally agree that the first one is the pinnacle one.
Mike, your number 1 horror game of all time. I'm ready for it.
Well, this should be no surprise to anyone, and it's going to be Dead Space. Dead Space is just a solid, beautiful horror game.
Dang.
It has the most unique horror enemies I've seen in any game I played so far. It has a unique playstyle of how to defeat these enemies. It has a great resource system in the game. Fantastic. It is a great horror survival game. You are always amazed in what you're going to see next. And the additional of just like of zero gravity added to this game, the ability to just knowing that like even when you replay the game, some enemies spawn in different areas. So when you replay the game, you can bring more stuff with you, but still it's like a fresh experience because things are going to be different at the same time too. So it has that great replayability like Resident Evil does have, and the character is amazing. The sound effects are amazing. Everything in this game is just amazing. If you want a horror game, just a legit horror game, Dead Space is the way to go. It is just good. Every moment in that game, I was excited to play. I was excited and terrified to get to the next moment. And like Ben said, like Metro is the greatest thing of survival for compared to Resident Evil. I think this Dead Space is. I think Dead Space is the most fantastic thing, and there is so many different ways you can play this game too. It has a huge arsenal of weapons, which you don't need to use every single weapon. You can just use the beginning weapon you start off with. That weapon is just as efficient as any other weapon in the game. So the styles on how you want to do it is fantastic. The only thing that stops you from progressing is your own self.
I told myself I was going to play this game at the beginning of the month, and then Xbox Games Pass came out, and I got distracted.
Oh, I know.
And
I don't blame you, dude. I got sidetracked too with Xbox Pass. And then it's like there's cool fucking upgrades for all the weapons and the armor, and like these cool armor sets you find that you can switch out between in the save points. The menu, like I talked about this in the 2 podcasts ago, the menu system is fucking fantastic. How it pops up as a hologram in front of your character, so when you're in play, you can see through the menu since it's a hologram, and it's so easy to navigate through the menu, but it's so realistic that it keeps you in the game. It also keeps you from not being in the game by like pausing it to go in the menu to switch stuff. It's like, no, when you're in the game, you're in the fucking game. You have your shit set up to go when you fight creatures or to deal with any situation that you have no idea you're going to get yourself into. So you have to figure out the best way to do it. I've talked about this game so much, so it's like it's hard to like in my head to say things that are just not fresh. It's fucking great. Love it. And this is Dead Space 1, by the way. Dead Space 1 is the game you just play. You don't need to play Dead Space 2. You don't need to play Dead Space 3. You just need to play Dead Space 1. It is so good and fantastic playing as Isaac in this game. It's just...
I feel bad. I wish I could comment more. I've never played it, and
I know. I just feel bad because I've talked about this game so much, and so like now, just like for being my number one, I feel like I'm being lackluster, but it's just good. It, like I said about the other ones, about like the style, the music, the character, the story. It's all that, but done great. This is like honestly, Dead Space is a 10 out of 10 game for me. That's why it's number one. I think that Dead Space 1 is 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Straight up. It's 10 out of 10 game. Must play, hands down. You will not be disappointed at all.
That is a claim. Dang.
It is a claim, but I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I say Dead Space every single time. Every single time for a great horror game, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it down there. Ben, what's your number one?
My number one is Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
You suck. No, I was joking.
Yeah. No.
It's a good choice too, though. I don't blame you putting it as your number one.
What?
I don't blame you having it as your number one. I totally understand.
Yeah,
This mic closer.
I mean, I would say, okay, for anyone who doesn't know Amnesia, quick description. I mean, it's going to take 2 seconds. It's going to take 2 seconds to say what happens in the game. But basically, you wake up and you are told that you have amnesia, or you have amnesia, and to go to your basement or your dungeons. And that's the plot. You start in your house is a big ass castle. And there's a note and it says, you have amnesia, just go to the dungeons to fix all this. Or, it's very ambiguous what they mean, but they're like, just go to the dungeons to fix everything. And then it's like, there's a monster lurking around too, by the way, whatever. Like they totally, they totally like bring it up very discreetly, or they try to like very like soft-servingly give you this idea of like, oh yeah, monster, by the way, whatever. But go to the basement, no problem, whatever. So yeah, the game is that you are completely defenseless. The only thing that you have to carry around is a lantern, and then you can take like healing, and you can take pills that will make you more sane. And Mike already talked about this game a lot, where if you don't look at the monster, then the monster, if you're looking at the monster, he can sense you. So typically you'll you be in a corner and you'll look into the corner. But the more that you are surrounded by darkness, the more insane you are. So it's this really weird trade-off. And the more insane that you become, the more your screen starts to warp and kind of like bubble. Like if you've ever seen like those LSD movies or I guess like those LSD like YouTube videos where it just like is a bubbling, that's kind of the effect, and it really disorients you.
You start seeing roaches too as well, the more insane you get sometimes. So like you see random stuff.
Yeah.
As you become insane.
And the game is it is the perfect amount of horror to me. It's a game that I told myself that I had to stop playing. Every time that I stopped playing, it was never voluntary. Basically, I told myself that I can no longer go on with this game, so I have to turn it off. Like it wasn't an option to be like, oh, I've played enough, I'm done. It was always like, nope, that was horrifying. I need to step away. And that being said, a lot of people would just turn off a game and never touch it again. Like, Mike, I know that that's what happened with you in Alien Isolation. That's a prime example of a game that is just, like, basically too good at its job. But Amnesia, even though it got me to that point of, fuck this game, I'm done with it, and I put it down, 2 hours later, I'd be back and I'd be saying, like, okay, like, I would force myself to push through. So no matter how scary the game was, I would still convince myself that it is worth playing. And there are few games that have ever reached that for me, where it was so scary that I had to stop playing, but I also convinced myself that it was worth being that scared. And Amnesia is, I would say, the perfect balance. There's no way to say that Amnesia is anything but a horror game, so it absolutely relies on the horror, but it also has a ton of story to it, and the game took over the horror industry in a wave unlike anything else. After Amnesia,
it was fucking crazy.
Everyone was talking about it, and not a lot of people talk about horror games these days. The last one that got this much attention was probably Resident Evil 7, but basically after Amnesia, there were so many copycat games that came out that it basically became the term walking simulator, where you are a completely defenseless person. But before that, typically you were given some kind of defense in horror games. I'm not going to say that they're the first, but they fucking popularized it. And
oh yeah, hands down. No questions.
You can definitely see the trends that it pulled off, or the trend that it started, or the trend that it popularized. Sorry. So, Amnesia, I mean, it was a great game. I had a bunch of friends that kind of helped push me through it, and we all played it together, but then there were also some times where I didn't, the same way that, like, Fatal Frame, we were all kind of forcing each other to play that game with each other, but if I wasn't with that group of friends, I probably wouldn't be playing Fatal Frame. Amnesia's totally different, though. Whether I had an audience, or whether we were taking turns, or whether I was just completely alone in my room, I would still find the courage to play it because I just wanted to enjoy that game. So, yeah, I can't see a single other spot that it could have been on, but Amnesia, number 1, Dark Descent, totally deserves it. So,
good game. It's real good.
It's real good. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So, my number 5 was The Evil Within. My number 4 was Fatal Frame. My number 3 was PT. My number 2 is Metro 2033. My number 1, best horror game of all time, period, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. if I brought any honorable mentions onto the list, I would have had like 7, so I decided to just fuck it and do no honorable mentions. Mike, what's your list again?
Number 5 was Fear. Number 4 was Amnesia. Number 3 was Little Nightmares. Number 2 was Condemned. And number 1 was Dead Space.
So the only game that you and I had in common was Amnesia again.
Yeah.
All right. Any honorable mentions, Mike?
I would be here all day, like you said. It just sounds like... And plus, I think everyone would agree with us on our honorable mentions, too, as well. I mean, we know plenty of good horror games, and we know that everyone out there knows some really good horror games that had not made it on the list.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of followed the list before by saying, you know, like Resident Evil and Silent Hill 2,
Yeah.
but there's really... As has been the theme of this entire month, is that horror is extremely interpretive, you know? Is a game horrifying because it has blood in it? Is a game horrifying, you know, like Doom? Is that more action or more horror? Would it survive without the horror? Is it horror at all?
People said, like, Home Alone is a horror game. And that's a whole walking simulator in a house. And people
Gone
say
Home.
That's actually Gone Home. They say that game's actually a horror game.
I think so.
And yeah, and so I would say otherwise.
Yeah, if we
But
were...
once again, it's to the person.
Yeah, and so if we were going to do any honorable mentions, we'd be here all night, because horror is interpretive.
But everyone else's version of horror is wrong, and mine is right.
Correct.
As long as we're on the same page.
I'm just Mike's hype guy over here. Like, we've already established that that my opinion is wrong unless I'm agreeing with Mike, so that is correct.
No, yeah. No, we know this. They know this, I know this, and you know this.
Well, yeah, because if we didn't know, we would be wrong, because we have to agree
exactly.
with you. All right. No honorable mentions. Let's see. Games coming out. The only one that I'm excited for is Luigi's Mansion 3, and that's coming out in 3 motherfucking days. I'm so excited.
Ow.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner. Like Halloween.
Exactly. Luigi's Mansion, so much fun. And what a great way to close out our top 5 horror games of all time is with that game being released soon. I mean, not specifically a horror game, but very clearly horror themed. And
Halloween themed be the best way to look at it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And it is also a cult classic. Not that it's an underground sleeper hit. Everyone loves Luigi's Mansion, but it is one of those games that basically hasn't seen a proper sequel in ages. I mean, it had a
well, you know
had a
that
mobile
Nintendo
one,
has to shit on Luigi, so it's kind of their company policy to shit on Luigi.
I love Luigi. You can...
Everyone loves Luigi, but Nintendo doesn't. Nintendo hates Luigi.
Yes, they do. All right. Next week's top 5. Mike, you and I did not talk about this, but I had one idea. Let me know if you like it or not, and then if not, we can think of something else. But I was thinking top 5 melee games. So what games have the best melee combat in them?
That sounds like fun. I'll be down for that.
All right, let's do that then. Okay. Whoops. Last couple things. I'm going to be playing Outer Worlds for the rest of the week here, probably. Also, with Halloween coming up, I am thinking I want to play this game I've been hearing about called The Man from Medan. Mike, have you heard about this game?
No, you texted that to me and one of our buddies, and I didn't look at what the fuck that was.
So, this game... Do you remember the game PS4 Until Dawn? The episodic story game?
Oh, it's one of those type of games.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I've seen a little bit of gameplay of this game.
Yeah, so it is the exact same developers. They're calling it, it's kind of like Final Fantasy in the sense that it's considered a second part of this anthology, but it's new characters, new story, everything. So, like, falling under the same name and genre, but it has, you know, now it's going by the sub-name, you know, Man from Medan, and it's just an episodic story, kind of like Telltale games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they were really emphasizing to play cooperative. And this story sounds 100 times cooler than Until Dawn. So, Until Dawn was a game based about a bunch of kids in a cabin with Wendigos, which are like these forest creatures that would, like, I guess, eat people or whatever. But Man from Medan, from what I can tell, is Ghost Ship, and I love Ghost Ship stories. There's only one shitty movie that's called Ghost Ship, but I love the concept. Like Resident Evil Revelations was also basically Ghost Ship, where like you're stuck at sea and this ship has, you know, a bunch of dead fucking people on it. Like, ships are so cool because it's like, you know, it's always kind of rocking back and forth. It's dark, tight quarters. It's a big fucking machine, basically. It's such a cool location for a horror game.
Actually, Ben, they actually have a section on Steam for horror VR. Maybe you should dive into that.
Not quite yet. Gotta get another set of Pampers before I do that.
Oh man.
So I'm actually thinking, Man from Medan, it's on sale on Steam right now for $20, and I know that's not specifically cheap, but I'm thinking those games, those episodic games, are typically like 6 hours most. They're not very long, and I would like, I've got fucking jack shit I'm doing on Halloween, so I think that might be my Halloween. Is I might sit down and play that game for Halloween. That's my goal.
Nice.
And then, Mike, if you want to talk about what you'll be playing next week or what you're going to be doing next week, you can get into that.
Next week, this week I'll be setting up some packing for a trip, which I'll be gone the following week.
Yep.
But I'm going to try to play Outer Worlds, more of that, and then I'm going to try to do a quick game of Into the Breach. Probably won't dive too deep into it. But then there's other games on the Xbox Pass that I've been wanting to play, and they're on here, there's a game called Shadow Tactics. Been dying to play that forever. That's on the Xbox Pass. Valkyrie Chronicles, that's been on there. It's on the Xbox Pass. Mutant Year Zero, and then The Flame and the Flood. All these games I've been wanting to play. They're all on the Xbox Pass, and so, like I played beforehand, I played all the games like I talked about before. Hopefully I'll find some times for the next time we have our podcast to talk about all these games.
If you get a chance to wait on Valkyrie Chronicles, I'll play that with you, because I think that's co-op strategy turn-based, so I'd be down to...
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll look into that and see. If it is, I'll definitely do that with you.
Okay, yeah. So, as Mike mentioned, he is going to be gone next week, so no podcast next week, unless we find a sub-in. Sam. So,
wink, wink.
Yeah. Sam, Melee Games, keep it in mind.
Yeah, you can take my spot for that one.
All right. Yep, we've nominated one of our fans. Some might say the only fan.
And on that note, it'd be a good time to end this podcast. You guys have a safe and happy Halloween, and we hope you enjoyed that.
Yep. This podcast is sponsored by Driving Under the Influence. It's a great way to ruin your life with a single night of partying, so just be safe on Halloween. See you guys.
Bye.